What would you do if the artist you've been waiting for suddenly turned the countdown into a game of heartbeats? The air was thick with anticipation. The stage lights hadn't even flickered yet, but the crowd was already trembling with emotion. It was 20 minutes before the concert began, and Jin BTS, standing somewhere behind the curtains, had just sent out a message that would turn the waiting time into one of the most unforgettable pre-show moments in BTS history. 20 minutes before the show, Jin's voice echoed through the speakers, smooth yet charged with excitement. "I'm already excited to play with ARMY. And as you may have forgotten, 1, 2, 3, if you do it, please shout out challenge. If you forget the challenge, you have to start again." The audience gasped. What did he mean? A challenge? In a moment where most artists would stay silent, preparing for their grand entrance, Jin decided to connect directly with the crowd, teasing, playing, and turning the tension into laughter. The stadium vibrated with energy as ARMY screamed his name, some shouting challenge. Even before he finished speaking, it wasn't just a game. It was Jin reminding everyone that joy and spontaneity were his trademarks. Even on the edge of one of the biggest moments of his career, the clock ticked closer to showtime. Cameras captured faces filled with both confusion and excitement. Some ARMYs wiped tears from their cheeks. Others clasped their hands together as if praying for what would come next. "What is he planning?" someone whispered. "Why is he making a shout before the show even begins?" The question spread through the crowd like wildfire. But that was exactly what Jin wanted, to make them feel, to make them wonder, to pull them into his world before a single note was played. Jin has always been known for his ability to mix humor with heart. Whether it's through his worldwide handsome charm or his quiet, emotional moments at the piano, he knows how to control a room. But this was something else entirely. The challenge wasn't just a joke. It was an invitation. A call for connection. A spark of unity between him and ARMY before the curtain even lifted. As the minutes slipped away, a rhythmic chant began to rise from the crowd. 1, 2, 3, challenge. The sea of purple light swayed in perfect synchronization. It was no longer about waiting, it was about belonging. Jin had managed to turn the prelude into an experience itself. Even before stepping onto the stage, he was already leading an emotional symphony. Then came the twist no one expected. Just as the final minute approached, the screens flashed, and Jin's face appeared, smiling, eyes bright under the backstage glow. "You passed the challenge," he said with a playful grin. "Now let's make tonight unforgettable." The stadium erupted. Some cried, some screamed, some stood frozen in disbelief. The pre-show had just become part of the show. The sound that followed wasn't just applause, it was release. The kind of sound that comes when thousands of people share one heartbeat. In that instant, Jin blurred the line between performer and fan. He wasn't above them. He was with them, side by side, heart to heart. Many ARMYs later shared that those 20 minutes were the most emotional part of the entire night. Not because of what was said, but because of how it made them feel. The challenge reminded them of why they loved Jin, his warmth, his humor, his instinct to reach out even when he didn't have to. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't a performance. It was Jin being Jin, authentic, playful, and deeply human. Backstage reports revealed that Jin had thought about doing something small but special for ARMY before every concert. He didn't want the countdown to feel cold or mechanical. He wanted the time before the spotlight to belong to both him and the fans. That's why he came up with the challenge, a spontaneous, heartwarming gesture to turn anxiety into joy. What makes Jin different is how he understands emotion as a performance in itself. He doesn't just sing songs, he crafts moments that live forever. Even a phrase as simple as 1, 2, 3 becomes a symbol of connection. For Jin, music isn't only what's played, it's what's felt. And that night, ARMY felt everything as the show finally began. The first note carried the echo of that challenge. Every song that followed seemed to breathe from that energy. The crowd wasn't just watching, they were part of the rhythm. During a brief pause between songs, Jin laughed, saying, "I knew you'd remember the challenge. You never forget, ARMY." His words were soft, but the impact was massive. It was as if he had woven a thread between every soul in the stadium. Even after the final encore, fans refused to leave. They stood, still chanting "challenge," tears glistening under the stage lights. Some said it felt like a promise, one that Jin had made silently, that no matter how big the world became, he would always find a way to reach them first. The challenge became a legend of its own. Social media exploded with clips, translations, and fan interpretations. Some said it was Jin's way of easing his own nerves. Others believed it was a message about unity, about how BTS and ARMY will always start again together, no matter how many times life forces them to reset. But perhaps the real answer lies in the simplicity of it. Jin has always been about turning small things into something unforgettable. A laugh, a wink, a line of melody, and now a challenge. That's his power. To make the ordinary feel magical, as the lights faded that night, one couldn't help but wonder, what will he do next? If a 20-minute countdown could already create this much emotion, what kind of surprises will he prepare for the next stage? The thought lingered in the air like the final note of a song, soft but eternal. And maybe that's the hidden truth behind Jin's message. Every moment, even the ones before the spotlight, matters. Every second is a chance to connect. Every word is a bridge. Because for Jin BTS, music doesn't start with a first beat. It starts with the heart. Now, as ARMY replays that moment across timelines and screens, one question still burns brightly. Was it really just a challenge? Or was it Jin's secret way of saying, "I'm with you always"? Tell us what you think below. What did that challenge mean to you? Did you feel the same rush when he said those words? Share your thoughts, leave a like, and subscribe for more exclusive emotional moments from Jin BTS's world. Because one thing is certain, this isn't the end. It's just the beginning of another beautiful challenge. Under the fading lights of the stadium, the echoes of Jin's voice still hung in the air like a heartbeat that refused to fade. Thousands of ARMYs stood frozen in the afterglow of what they had just witnessed. They weren't only waiting for music, they were waiting for something more. Something that could only come from Jin, a man whose smallest gestures carried the weight of emotion, humor, and meaning that no script could ever replicate. The challenge might have seemed simple to an outsider. A playful command, a few words tossed into the air before the show. But to the fans, it was a symbol, a pulse that synchronized their hearts with his. When Jin said, "If you forget the challenge, you have to start again," ARMY didn't just laugh, they understood. It was a quiet promise. It was about never giving up, about always coming back to love, to music, and to the bond that has defined BTS and ARMY for more than a decade. As the concert continued, that line replayed in every heart. The screens flashed purple, the sound of the crowd swelled, and in every corner of the stadium, someone whispered the same word, challenge. It became their mantra, their code, a spark that connected strangers and turned them into family. When Jin reappeared on stage for his first performance, his eyes were already shimmering. He could feel the weight of the cheers, the rhythm of the chants, and the way every voice blended into one.